Okay, so we were talking for Venerable Semke, and then later on the rest of you who will go to Taiwan for your full ordination, just some tips about how to answer different questions, because there hasn't been so much contact between the Tibetan Sangha and the Chinese Sangha. You know, they don't speak the same language, they live very far from each other, and Tibet was closed off for so long. One thing in Chinese culture is they feel very strongly, and this corresponds to Vinaya, that that monastics should not be involved in politics, okay? And now, of course, politics is a very general word, and how people interpret it is very different, okay? As you know, in Tibetan society, the Dalai Lama for many centuries has been the head of the Tibetan government, and the way that the parliament has been organized, there are monastic representatives from the great monasteries, because so many people in the population were ordained. And so often the Chinese have questioned this, you know, how did this come about? The idea was in Tibetan culture that since you have to have some government, it's good to have people who have precepts be the ones making the decisions and in the government, because hopefully they will be more ethical, they will, you know, exercise their compassion in the governing of the country. And so that is the Tibetan philosophy, why they have monastics and the Dalai Lama and so on involved in the government. Right now, His Holiness is doing, they've established a constitution, and His Holiness was quite insistent that he not be the official head of state in terms of making the decisions. And so there's a prime minister now who is Samdong Rinpoche, also a monk, and His Holiness sees his position more, he's trying to ease out of the political work and the administrative work and do more in terms of Dharma practice. And teaching and so on. What is very interesting is the Tibetan society is the only culture that I know of where the leader is trying to have less power and the people want the leader to have more power. Because the people don't want His Holiness to step down, they want him involved. So it's a very interesting situation as it happens, okay? Now in Chinese culture, at least in Singapore, probably in Taiwan too, politics includes kind of even social activism, you know, anything that is involved in speaking out in society for societal change. Of course, setting up hospitals, schools, doing welfare work and all is not considered politics, you know, and that's very much encouraged. And the Taiwanese are excellent in terms of that. And His Holiness really says we should, you know, model ourselves on that more. So the Sangha is more involved in reaching out and doing activities that directly benefit others. But social activism in Chinese culture is often considered political. In American culture, I don't think it is necessarily. And in fact, in American culture, people want, a large number of the American Buddhists want people to be more socially engaged. We don't always separate out, for example, setting up schools and hospitals with, you know, circulating petitions so that they stop killing certain animals or being involved in climate change and so on. You know, so for example, there were some American Buddhists who went to, with a delegation of many people from other religions to Copenhagen to speak out on climate change. And we have the Buddhist Peace Fellowship in the U.S. who does a lot of social activism. And so here it's quite well accepted to do that. In Singapore, they're a little bit uncertain. I'm not sure in Taiwan exactly how it is. In China, probably no, because everything is considered politics, So it's different in different cultures, and people may ask you questions about that kind of thing. Personally speaking, I feel it's very important that Buddhists vote. It is our right as citizens, and we are we are members of citizens of this planet and this country, and I think we should vote. I know some Buddhist groups don't think so, but I think it's actually quite important. Yeah, it doesn't take much time. It isn't huge political involvement, is it? And I think in terms definitely of signing petitions and encouraging the people who come to the Abbey to recycle and to avoid excess driving, and doing things involving global warming or against the death penalty. I think these things are actually called for and in accord with our precepts. Okay, and so it could be that different Buddhist societies have different views on these kinds of things, and a lot of it may have to do with their history. Yeah, because Chinese Buddhism came to China when there was an emperor, and you had to do what the emperor said, but now we're transitioning to democratic society, so it's different.